out of the way and bring to the forefront as we get started a gentleman that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. This gentleman has been a health and wellness advocate for the better part of a decade plus. And in that time, he has truly impacted tens of thousands of lives for the good. And so with that, I want to get out of the way and bring to the forefront my good friend, business partner, and mentor, Mr. Andre Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, are you out there, sir?
I'm here and fired up and ready to go. What I realize is that because of the integrity of the products and how people cultivate the products, and how if it was just that simple, we wouldn't have all of these diseases. We would not have all of these people suffering in silence. It's a lot of individuals that are suffering in silence. A lot of people who cannot. I mean, they Ozempic and all these things. They don't understand what in the world is going on. The doctors have failed them. The medical system has failed them. The nutritional world has failed them. They don't understand a lot of things based on body weight. They don't understand that the soils are 83% depleted of a lot of minerals. And that's why if you're sweating, everybody's a workout junkie and they're getting themselves quicker to the grave than somebody who just sits on the couch. Because if you're not getting the perfect nutrition, you're taking all the oil out you're taking all of the oil out your body, and they're saying hydrate. You see people work out, they put the water in, and they don't understand that when it comes to athletes, man, there's only 3 people who've lived over 100 who are top flight athletes. And so people don't get it. And so we're not going to just say, oh, here, take this product. We're going to be just as forceful with our messaging on what makes Top Shelf Nutri different, what makes our products different, what makes us on a whole top tier. The company is called Top Shelf for a reason. Like, we can't just have the name Top Shelf and not really believe and feel that we have Top Shelf. And that's why I'm encouraging. And when you're in pain, and I don't know if you've ever been in pain and couldn't figure it out. When you've been in pain and couldn't figure it out, and you know that the people on this line have an answer to why people are in pain, then that has a different set of responsibilities, a moral responsibility from all of us that we get the word out. So I don't know what you're doing for money. I don't know what your businesses are. I don't know what your job is, and that's totally fine. But this has to be a ministry. This has to be a movement. This has to be that we're not going to just take it for ourselves. And in closing, before I bring my mentor up, it's one thing when you're confused. The moves that I make, I'm not confused. When I gain 8 pounds, I'm not confused. When I lose 15 pounds, I'm not confused. And so at the end, when I eat that ice cream, I'm not confused. Everything that I do, I have clarity. I have clarity, and I understand what I need to do to get on the right track. Do you know the value? Do you know the value in understand and being clear on how to get to the right track when so many people pay so much money to a personal trainer? They pay so much money to a gym. They have these workouts, they have all these things, and they're still not clear. They're dependent on that one individual. When you do things, you're doing it for the camaraderie. You're doing it because you want to be a part of something, a group. But it's not, I hope you're not doing it because you're confused. Because I understand when I'm eating a piece of red meat that I don't want to eat it well done because it's going to clog my arteries. I understand that I need eggs soft, because I want to work on my myelin. I understand when I want to lose weight, I just need the movement. I don't need to sweat a whole bunch. I just need to be in motion and movement. And if I'm going to have a heavy meal, I'm going to do it during lunch instead of dinner. I'm going to understand that the bread and all these things that turn into sugar can cause a problem. I understand that when I have certain things I need, if I have sugar, extra sugar, I need to have ginger, maybe a little extra ginger. If I'm dealing with inflammation, I need to deal with my personal policies. I need to make sure I'm having turmeric. If somebody says, oh man, erectile dysfunction, I understand that I need to make sure they have muscarine and inflammation so that thing can get inflamed. I ain't going there, Bishop, but I understand the certain things that I need, and that's half the battle. The other half is for me to make sure everybody else understands, because we're not going to be selfish. And so I want to bring to the stage my good friend. We're going to talk about a few health topics, man, but I just want him to come to the stage and share how excited, give some updates on where we are, because people want to know. And then we're going to get right into a few things that our family and friends are struggling. And sometimes we're going to talk about things over and over again because so many people are suffering in silence. So Bishop, Mr. Todd Smith, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Andre Vaughn.
Oh man.
Appreciate you having me on. With all you were sharing, I don't know that you need me. You got it all down.
Oh yeah, I need you. I need you. Man, Todd, it's so funny. Like before we even get into health topics, like just share how excited you are, man. You've been passionate about this thing over 2 decades. We've worked other things, up products, but this has been your true home, your true passion. And you see around the world, like people don't have a clue. You have third world countries that are doing better than us in a lot of health categories. Just by nature, they don't have the resources that we have, but they have the soils and that are not depleted. And so, if you could just share how excited you are about the mission, and we'll get right into it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, this is where I have planted my flag and been for over 30 years. For 30 years, I've been helping people with health and nutrition. And frankly, it's something that I really, really enjoy because early on we started to learn that not all the medical institutions and organizations have the secret to longevity and healthful longevity. It is true if you get in a car accident, an emergency, you want them to take you to a hospital. They do amazing stuff for emergency care and putting us back together. And my family and I have been recipients of that medical care, and we're very grateful. So I'm not knocking that type of care. What I'm talking about is the chronic illness that happens over time that we tend to lean because of the way our medical system is set up financially. We tend to lean towards treatment of symptoms. We lean towards medical prescription medicines, which will cover up the symptoms and not actually go to the root cause of the problem. Why were you sick to begin with? And so the interesting thing is that the logic behind that is as simple as you're driving down the road and the oil lamp, the engine warning lamp comes on your car. And what do? Well, we know that if we don't take care of it, something serious is going to happen, right? So we pull over, we reach into the glove box, we pull out some masking tape, we cover that light up, and now we're good. We can get back on the road and go. No, you're all saying now that's not what we do. We pull into a garage and get it fixed properly. Well, unfortunately, in today's society, with the quick response and the way the pharmaceutical industry has set themselves up, many of the medications that we're prescribing are just like that masking tape. We're just covering up the warning symptoms, the warning lights in our body. We all have things that are kind of telling us, hey, there's something wrong. You have to question, well, why do I have pain? Why do I have swelling? Why is my cholesterol going up? Why? And if we ask the question why, we get down to some of the root causes of these diseases that we're suffering from. And if we don't ask why, then what we do is we just receive the prescription from the doctor and we go pick up the medicine and we take it. And the symptoms seem to go away, but the why is still there, the problem that created it. And so when we talk about what our strategy here at Top Shelf Nutra, the strategy is to, one, identify what's at the root that's causing the problem. And is there something we can do dietarily? Is there something we can do nutritionally that would help alleviate the underlying problem? If we can overcome the problem, then the symptoms go away on their own. And so rather than system management, we're talking about disease prevention and reversal. So that's really what makes the difference with what we're trying to do here at Top Shelf. And as you said, Andre, I love doing it. I love how many of the solutions are very, very simple. They're not complex. They're not complicated. Some of the formulas are complex and complicated, but that's because you're just putting a lot of the nutrients in forms that taste good and a lot of them together. And so yeah, some of that can get complex, but the actual underlying problems are quite simple and usually can be fixed with a few dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and some supplements.
Wow, Todd, it's so amazing, and you get mad, but you could do something about it. So it's no need to get mad. When I look at the obesity craze, right? I was just reading something, and the CDC reports that nearly 42% of American adults were obese as between 2018 and 2020, and also additionally, 73% of adults were considered either overweight or obese, right? And so there's no shortage of gyms. There's no shortage of weight programs. There's no shortage of eating dieting programs, right? Why do you think 73% of adults were obese? I mean, that's unacceptable, and that's why we're here to really combat. Those statistics can help towards it, but there's a big opportunity to help that community of people.
It is a big opportunity, and you say, do we get mad? We get a little frustrated, don't we? Because this is simply a result of bad information. We were, as kids, in our health sciences classes at school, we were taught a food pyramid. We were told that 70% of our calories were supposed to come from grains and breads and things like that. And as a result, we just followed what we were told to do. The school lunch program followed it. We followed it as we got older. And then as a result, we all filled out. I mean, I knew as a kid, I grew up on a farm, and when we wanted to get the cows ready for slaughter, the steers ready for slaughter, what did we do? We fed them grains. We loaded them up on grains before they went to slaughter to fatten them up so that the meat would be tender. So why is our meat tender? Because we've been fattened up like calves because we're eating so many grains. So the result of the obesity epidemic is, one, a result of bad information. We just have been told the wrong things to eat. The culture of eating a lot of carbohydrates, processed foods, grains, things like that, just gave us bad information, threw the macros off to what they're supposed to be. A second reason why obesity is such a problem is because the sugar that we're consuming, and a lot of these carbohydrates are simple carbohydrates, they're converted instantly to sugar in our blood, glucose, and because of that, we become inflamed. Our systems, our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, everything become inflamed. When we're suffering from inflammation, well, now the body is in kind of like a hyper response mode, and we are not processing calories efficiently, and we end up storing because the body is thinking that it's in a starvation mode because it's inflamed and panicking. And so it's a combination of bad information and then the result of consuming too much sugar, too many carbohydrates, not enough healthy fats and proteins.
Wow. It's funny, it's the same source, CDC, also says as of 2022, over 37 million Americans, or about 11.3% of the U.S. population, have diabetes. Now, Todd, I want to go a step further. One of the things when you go into the medical, they ask, has your father had this? Has your mother had this? Has your brother, has your sister? Everything is about the family. It's hereditary, which makes it now acceptable. Do you think everything is hereditary?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, do we do what our parents did? Yes.
Okay.
It's hard to break that chain.
Yeah.
So is there something to hereditary transfer of illness? There is some genetic transfer of illness. We all know there are some genes that you inherit from your parents or your grandparents. There's no question that there's something to genetics. However, the more recent research into genetics has been discovering all sorts of neat things in what's called epigenetics. And that's where the lifestyle, the diet, the lack of or adequate amounts of nutrition change whether genes are expressed or not. So you can inherit whatever genes, your parents or your grandparents had, but it doesn't necessarily mean they are expressed in you. The expression of many of the genes are a result of our diet, our nutritional aspects, our societal aspects, and our environment. And so by changing our lifestyle, changing our diet, even if you inherited some bad genes from somebody, they are not necessarily going to be expressed because your genes are going to be expressed or not expressed, latent, as a result of your lifestyle choices. So yes, there's something to genetics. Is it everything that they're trying to tell us? No. They're trying to tell you that you have diabetes because your mom had diabetes, or they're trying to tell you that you have, such and such an illness because your father had it. It is just not the case. Those particular illnesses are not genetic diseases. They're dietary nutritional deficiency diseases. And so you inherit them because you're making the same desserts and meals and food preparations that your mama did. And so if we inherit the same food diets, the same lifestyles that our parents had, yeah, we're going to inherit the same nutritional deficiencies and dietary problems that they had.
Do you guys realize just that one piece of information, how many folks have just accepted that I have diabetes because my mama had it, her mama had it, and now I'm just give me the medicine. Do you know how much even the pharmaceutical industry wants to keep you dumb, because that's $1 billion industry, and if you don't have anything to question about, you just got to go with the flow because you didn't go to school for nutrition. Normally, you didn't go to school to be a doctor, and so that's exciting. And so just with that, even just with spreading that message, like, listen, everything is not hereditary. Even if we just did that, folks will be taken care of well financially from getting that message out, because, people need to know. And so, man, you kind of breezed past this, Mrs. Smith, last time, our last outing, on spiked protein. I asked you a question of, what types of proteins. You put it out there that, man, spiked protein. And of course, the deeper folks on this line was like, oh, spiked protein, you know what I mean? What made you go into looking into products that have spiked protein versus only just regular protein?
So these are particular nutrients that help eliminate and detoxify the body from spike proteins. Spike proteins became very popular with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as people were starting to receive particular vaccinations to try and prevent getting the disease, part of it is that in order to avoid getting sick, the vaccine's intention is to give you a light version, right, of the disease. And so now, in not only the people who have had COVID, but those who have been vaccinated have received these spike proteins. And those spike proteins we're finding out, having long-term effects for some people. I would say the vast majority of the people are probably dealing with them fine. However, we're finding in certain stressful situations, in dietary situations, different cases with other health illnesses, that when you have pre-existing conditions, sometimes then the spike proteins become extremely, extremely harmful. The immune system reacts and overreacts, and therefore, people weren't dying from COVID; they were dying from the immune response to the spike protein. So, what do we do to counter that? There've been a lot of research. There's a lot of publications, and some of the nutrients that frankly are effective against fighting and detoxifying spike proteins are quite easy to get. They're not that difficult. They've made it kind of hard to market them in the United States from a political standpoint, but actually, if formulated properly and combined in a combination of nutrients, you can very effectively detoxify your system of these spike proteins, therefore preventing any of the long-term effects. They call it, long-term COVID or long COVID. Lots of different ways people have been describing it, but lots of neurological, different types of things that are kind of carryovers, both from the disease as well as from the vaccines. And in fact, I was meeting with a lady just this week who went in for her booster. She had been fine. She got her booster, and she ended up spending the next the next week in the hospital as a result of the COVID booster that she really didn't need, but was said, hey, you might want to get it. And so there's a need now for us to empower and strengthen the body's immune response and ability to detoxify these spike proteins. So that's one of the products that we're working on, the formula. Quite excited about it. The research is very strong. I will tell you, most of that research is coming from outside the United States. Very hard to get funding for research regarding something anti-vaccine in the United States. So we'll be relying heavily on some research that's done outside of the U.S., but having very, very positive results.
Wow, man, oh man, I'm excited. I understand from a marketing standpoint on, really putting the message out. I notice a lot of companies, they might have products and they might give you a testimonial on the product, but they really don't go this deep when it comes to the background, the research, the information on how each product can be beneficial to one's body. The last thing I want to share before we let the good people go on this Saturday is You see a lot of people in your family, your hip, your knee, you get a knee replacement, you get a hip replacement, and lo and behold, they say, oh, got to do the other knee, got to do the other hip. You can't do it at the same time, whatever, right? And so we've seen a lot of people, our friends and family, who have gotten these hip replacements, but they came back and said, oh, wait a minute, I don't feel any better. I'm struggling, I'm suffering, right? It didn't do exactly what they thought it would have done, and it was explained to them. So if you could just share, some of the things, strategies for that.
Sure. So, there's something that's quite uniform across the health of our bodies, and that is that there are some components that the body uses to make up hard tissue and connective tissue. So bones, joints, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, these nutrients are used all across our bodies to maintain our structure. And these nutrients are very, very plentiful, or were very, very plentiful in our old-fashioned diet. So the diets our grandparents and great-grandparents had, where they would take the entire bird or the entire cut of meat with a bone in, and they would boil that, or they would trim the meat off and then boil the bones. These compounds that are coming out of the sinews and the bones and the cartilage and the ligaments of other animals, these are the same compounds the body uses to repair, rebuild, and maintain the structure of our bones, cartilage, connective tissues, ligaments, and tendons. And so we are dependent upon the consumption of those materials in order for us to rebuild. And so there's been a lot of push against, animal products. There's been a lot of push to go vegan. There's been a lot of push at, avoiding animal cruelty, and I'm not against any of that. However, you can't deny the fact that physiologically we have to consume those materials, or our bones, our joints, our cartilage, ligaments, tendons, they're all going to break down, deteriorate, and well, that's what we're seeing. I mean, now you don't go buy the bones and cook the whole animal. You're buying boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and the skin and the bones and all of that are no longer part of the product that we're eating. I remember as a kid biting the ends off of chicken bones, eating that cartilage and that ligament. That was fun to chew on. Well, we don't do that anymore, do we? We get the boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and we don't have to touch any of that stuff. And as a result, yeah, it's easier to prepare. You don't have to work as hard to chew it off, but as a result, we're ending up deficient. So when you talked about knee and hips and shoulders and all of these types of things, this epidemic of arthritis that's happening, and it's happening all throughout our bodies, it's really a deficiency of these base formation nutrients. And so you're looking at chondroitin, you're looking glucosamine, you're looking at calcium, magnesium, boron, strontium. These are all cofactor nutrients that the body uses to build bone matrix, interlay it with minerals, and then determine whether it's making ligaments, tendons, cartilage, or bone. And that's all just ratios of the minerals that are interlaid in that bone matrix. So that long answer, but yeah, we need to start eating the ends on the chicken bones. We need to start being okay with bone broth. We need to be looking for ways to consume more gelatin. And we need to take supplements. If we're going to eat boneless, skinless chicken breasts and prime cut meat without any of that other stuff, well, then we need bone and joint. We need to take some supplements to rebuild and give our body the raw materials it needs to rebuild those tissues.
Wow, man, just that, when you said boneless, skinless, and we hear that so much, and we didn't even know, and they don't tell you, that's causing a problem. But why would you? Because the more knee replacements, the more money. And so things like
more chicken nuggets, more knee replacements, right? It's just
man. And so I don't know what the folks, and just put a number 2 in the chat if you're simply excited. When you look at it from that perspective, we're not just telling people, oh, go take this product. We're giving you some baseline information and giving you a track to run on with this. And that's why I'm so fired up, because it's twofold. It's not only can we get the messaging out, but we can take care of ourselves too. I mean, we can do that simultaneously, because people are lost. I mean, usually people, I'm like, you might not want to work out that much. I tell people, you might not want to work out all the time if you're not going to supplement every day, because you're going to have more problems. And they don't even they look at the weight, but they don't look at what's going on with their bodies all of a sudden. And it can go really quickly, really quickly. So, Mr. Smith, anything else before we close out? We always like to keep these things under 30 minutes. Anything?
The only thing I would add is that there's a lot happening here. Lots of products coming into the warehouse. We're getting very excited for June 3rd.
Awesome. June 3rd, baby. So that's it. And that's all. I appreciate you, Mr. Smith. Top level information. I can always listen to this information because it's going to make sure I take care of my life bill and not just my light bill. We also had a request for some oils, and I know some oils are coming. Some oils are coming. So we're excited about that. And we'll share that on the next week. Okay. So I appreciate it. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.